Hi there VC, Steve Whitty here. Time for another video. It's been nearly, well, over a month since I've done the last one. I think circumstances, Euro 2020 and other circumstances have sort of stopped me from doing a video, and it's a little bit lame of me because I think coming up to my 5th anniversary. It's got to be very shortly, so let's get back into the swing of doing some videos. I've got a ton of records that I've purchased since we've started coming out of lockdown in the UK. This video I'm going to show you 10, and that's how I'm going to do it, rather make one long video. Just gradually build it up so I can catch up with myself. So without further ado, let's start off with the first record. First album is Self-Portrait by Bob Dylan. His 10th album, his second double album after Blonde on Blonde, and this album consists of mainly covers, pop and folk songs. The vocal styling is carrying on from Nashville, the country crooning style from Nashville Skyline. It's fair to say that upon release, this album took a bit of a critical slating. I think it was Graham Marcus that says, "What is this shit?" as the opening line on his review in Rolling Stone. And in the end, it does come across a bit like, what is this? It's not a bad album, don't get me wrong, but you know, it's. In a way, it's wasn't what people had probably come to expect from Dylan. I mean, Dylan said it best himself in interviews that the album really was something of a joke release, and it was so he could end this spokesman for a generation. Tag that since he'd been around, he'd seemed to have to carry around, and I think he got tired of it, particularly once he had that motorcycle accident. However, despite all this, the album did actually very well. Reached #1 in the UK and #4 in the US. So I'm actually quite pleased to pick it up. It's there in my collection. Next album, bit of a glare here, is the Best of Scott Walker. This is a phonogram mid-price reissue. This album itself, compilation, came out in 1982. At this point in time, Scott Walker particularly become forgotten in the pantheon of 60s pop stars. He did get a resurgence around the previous year. Julian Cope, and he had just broken through with Teardrop Explodes, and one of his influences was Scott Walker, and he put together a compilation called Escaping the Sky, The Godlike Genius of Scott Walker, which was released, as I said, released in 1981 and reached #14 in the UK Indies chart. As it says, the best of, it's got really all his best stuff. Joanna, Like Cincinnati, Jackie's on here as well, If You Go Away, The Impossible Dream, very much sort of that style. He would go away from that style as he progressed in his career, but you know, I couldn't really say no to that. The Scott Walker records, especially originals, are hard to come by. Next up, it's A Beautiful Day, and it's their 4th album, It's a Beautiful Day Today. It was their final album. The band was formed in 1967, and when it got to this point, it had gone through several changes. You'll see the singer on the front, which is, if I can remember, is Patti Santos. She was in a band with her husband, Bud Cockrell. It's hard to say about this album. I have got the first two other two studio albums. This very much is a band that was on its downward curve. I picked it up because you don't really see this album. In fact, it's a Columbia. I'll get that right. So it's a US copy. Not a bad album. Band split in 1974. Patty Santos and Bud Cockrell would form Cockrell and Santos, and I think Bud Cockrell went and joined Pablo Cruz. Sadly, Patty Santos died in a road accident in 1989. Next up, Johnny Winter. Second Winter. This was in fact his third album. It's a strange album because it's out on three sides. It's a three-sided record, the fourth side, no groove on it at all. The original plan was to have a single album, but they had recorded 11 tracks, and it was thought that all 11 tracks worked out well, so they decided to put it all out as one record in that format, where we have a three-sided album. You've got your tracks on here. There's a version of Johnny Be Good, Highway 61 Revisited. Edgar Winter is featured on here as well, on piano, organ, harpsichord. And you say Johnny in his note, in the sleeve notes here, explains more about why it became a three-sided record. It really is a really good record, actually. I'm pleased to pick it up. Really excellent playing on here. So yeah, really happy to found this copy. Next up, Blood, Sweat and Tears, the band's second album, and possibly their most commercially successful album as well. Released in 1968. Al Cooper had left the band with a couple of other original members, and the big change that came in was the recruitment of David Clayton Thomas on vocals. The album stayed in #1 in the US for 7 weeks. There were 3 top 5 singles that came off this album: You Made Me So Very Happy, Spinning Wheel, and When I Die. In fact, they all reached #2 in the charts. The album itself was to win the Best Album of the Year, the 1970 Grammy as well. And really from there, the band's commercial fortunes went down a little bit, started to wane. They never really peaked as high as they did here. This is an upgrade copy for me. My original copy was a bit... I'd seen better days, so really pleased to find it out. It's a really good example of jazz, of that jazz rock era at the time that was floating around with bands like Chicago as well. I do like my twofers, and this is 2 originals of Aretha Franklin. Now, this was purchased during lockdown. Pete at the local store did online crate digs on a Saturday afternoon, and this came up primarily because the album has got that album, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Loved You. I hadn't got that. I had got Aretha Arrives, but I thought I'll have that, and I just thought I'll have it as a twofer. And in a sense, Aretha Arrives is an upgrade. What can I say? Aretha Franklin, one of the great voices of our time. So you've got Respect, RESPTECT, Respect. I Never Loved a Man the Way I Loved You. Baby, 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 Dr. Feel Good, Love Is a Serious Business. There's some great songs on here. On Aretha Arrives version of Satisfaction, You My Sunshine. She does 96 Tears. Does That's Life as well. Ain't Nobody Gonna Turn Me Round. It's just wonderful stuff, music. When she was just breaking through, some could argue it was her peak, but I haven't really listened to much later Aretha to really sort of to argue against it. But it's just an absolute wonderful album. Well, I was well pleased to find that. Johnny Cash, Orange Blossom Special. This came out in 1965 and was his 21st album. The album itself is a mixture of country and folk standards. The Long Black Veil springs to mind. It's on here. Must have heard that song quite a few times. But it also features a couple of Dylan songs. It Ain't Me, Babe, Don't Think Twice, It's Alright. And this is primarily because Cash and Dylan had briefly met and got on. Then they met up again after a show at Newport, Rhode Island. And that's when they exchanged songs. And It Ain't Me, Babe, and Don't Think Twice, It's Alright were a couple of songs that he gave to Cash. And he included them on the album. I actually picked up quite a bit of this 60s era Johnny Cash. You can get this quite cheap. There you go. And it's well worth picking up and having. Johnny Cash, one of the most important artists at American recording artists, whose I think influence and legacy still lives on. This is a 12-inch EP. This is Shriekback. This is the Knowledge, Power, Truth and Sex EP, which was released in 1984. Let's get this. There you go. On Aretha record. Good idea to get out at the time. Now, Shriekback were formed in 1981 by Barry Andrews, who was ex of XTC, and Dave Allen, who was the bass player of the Gang of Four. This is very much post-punk, new wave of its type. Not a bad album, sorry, EP. I'm not sure if I would stumble across more Shriekback. This stuff's sort of difficult to find. Can be a little bit expensive, but it's not too bad. I quite enjoyed it. Yeah, Shriekback. And we have a couple of comps to finish with. This is Halfpounder. This was released through Record Mirror, which was a popular music paper that ran particularly 70s and 80s. And this album features a lot of artists that were on the Virgin label. So you've got XTC, Radio's in Motion, Alfie and Donna, who'd just come off having a top #1 hit with Uptown Top Ranking. Track featured on here is No More Fighting. Steve Hillage is on here. The Gladiators, Colin Towns, who would become keyboard player in Gillan, he's on here. Motors, Breathless, Yellow Dog, Tapazuki, Kevin Coyne and the Diamonds. So a mixture of sort of new wave and reggae on here. There you go. And this was quite popular on music papers to issue albums, sampler albums. I think you'd have to collect the tokens, send the tokens up with a check or postal order, and up come your record. And the final record I'm going to show you is Sold Together. This is a Atlantic compilation it features from 1969. As it says, you've got the artist that's on here. So you've got Otis Redding, Percy Sledge, Aretha Franklin again doing her version of Rigby, Benny King, Arthur Conley, Sam and Dave, Wilson Pickett, The Sweet Inspirations, Clarence Carter, Billy Vera and Judy Kay, and Joe Tex. I love comps. I especially these old comps because there's so much stuff on there, and because a lot of these artists on the albums, some of these albums would be very difficult to get hold of and quite pricey. So really pleased to find them. There you go, VC. That was my 10 albums I'm going to show you. I promise it isn't going to be so long before I show any more. Yes, so I hope everyone has been doing well. Being me, as I say, I was caught up football, a lot of things, work, and been gradually returning to work, down up to 2 days a week, a bit of a commute. Weather's been, it's been hot. It's been hot. And I understand from those on the other side of the Atlantic, particularly Canada and the Northwest America, it's been really, really, really hot. It's one thing when it's hot lying on a beach or by a pool, but it's something when you've got to do life chores, and that's where it sort of grinds you down. And I've not had much sleep this week, but hey ho. So a big thank you to all those people who've viewed and commented on my last video, and those who've subscribed. I've got a couple of new subscribers, which is always pleasing. So again, big thank you to everyone. So if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, click on the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you find out when my next video comes in. I promise it won't leave it so long. Thumbs up, thumbs down, love the interaction. Feel free to leave a comment, I will get back to you. So whatever you get up to, VC, until the next time, look after yourselves, keep spinning, but more importantly, keep on smiling.